Hello, my name is Shane Conder, and this is Android Wireless Application Development, Volume 1, Android Essentials, 3rd edition.
And my name is Lauren Darcey, and I'm the co-author on this book. So we thought we would give you a couple of tips today from our book. We'll start with a beginner tip.
One thing beginners definitely need to know is that Android moves very fast. The SDKs get updated frequently, not just major versions, but minor versions. The tools are updated independently of the SDK now, so you need to constantly be checking for updates on your tools and the SDKs. Finally, the online documentation is now a very key resource to keep up on. Google continually adds new documentation to the SDK reference as well as via their own blog.
So no book covers everything these days. You have to use it in conjunction with the online documentation. So that's like the java.class documentation.
How about an intermediate tip? Let's watch API levels. In the market, there are far more device API levels than just the very latest one that Google has published. For instance, if you were to write to the latest API right now, you'd be writing to API level 15, which has about 1% of all devices.
So if you're new to Android, you might feel like you have to develop to the latest stuff. And everyone's talking about Ice Cream Sandwich 4.0. The truth is about 90% of all Android devices are still running a version of 2.0. It's like 2.2, 2.3. Only 3.3% are running 3.0 and 1.6% are running 4.0. So don't feel you have to use the absolute latest stuff because you'll be cutting out most of the market.
Along those lines, there is the Android SDK support package that Google publishes, which gives access to some of the newer APIs, both in Android 3 and 4, back to earlier versions of the SDK. So you can still use some new features while supporting old devices.
Let's do a tip on accessibility. Because there are now so many different types of devices in the field, we're talking tablets and televisions and all sorts of types of phones, accessibility has become a pretty big deal. All sorts of new types of users with like visual impairments and such are now using these devices. So one thing you can do to make your devices more accessible to these types of users is to set the content description tag for your user interface view elements. So if you have buttons or images in your UI, if you set the content description tag, then tools like screen readers will be able to navigate your user interface and help users with impairments use your apps. So that's yet another target audience for your applications that you can easily access.
And it's very easy to do.
Yes, it's very straightforward. It's just a simple, I mean, it's very much like a web page where you set the text descriptions of your web page elements so that screen readers can work.
Exactly.
And finally, our book isn't just for developers. It's also for quality assurance testers and other software professionals. So why don't we give a tip for testers?
Yeah. So this is our cookie content tip. You frequently need to test network coverage, and you could go and drive somewhere where there's poor network and
under
see
a bridge
what your app does.
Or a tunnel. This is
get into an elevator or something.
Especially important with location-based services apps and apps that like really require you to have network coverage for them to function right.
And handling the edge cases when the network drops away or is partially away, coming and going, is important. So a quick way to do this.
How do you do that when you're sitting at your desk?
Well, I do that by grabbing a cookie tin. First, I have to eat all the cookies out of it, but then I have an empty cookie tin. I can drop my phone into it, close it up, and the network coverage goes away.
Because it's shielded.
Exactly.
So are there other ways you can do that other than cookie tins?
Well, you could use tin foil. You
From your
could.
hat? Or a freezer? Why would you not want to use a freezer?
Well, it turns out when you put your phone in a freezer, which we've seen in the workplace, it kills the battery.
So it works. You lose network coverage, but you also drain the battery very fast.
My name is Shane Conder,
And I'm Lauren Darcey.
and our book is Android Wireless Application Development, Volume 1, Android Essentials, 3rd edition.
It's the first volume in a 2-volume series that is very comprehensive Android information. And we hope that you've really enjoyed this podcast and that you'll be able to use the tips. And send us an email and let us know what apps you're writing. We'd love to hear from our readers.
Thank you for listening.
Thank you.